Good afternoon, Brian.
How are you guys doing? I've got a little bit of a cold, so I'm going to struggle through it, but I'll do everything I do. I'll give you everything I've got like I do every other day. So I apologize for my voice, but I'll give it everything I have.
Well,
So
thanks for trusting it out. We're honored to have you.
Mike, on to you.
All right, very good. Hi, Brian. Welcome.
Hey, Mike, congratulations on your announcement yesterday. That's great news for all of us, spreading the word and expanding the exposure and awareness for racing. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We think it's going to be great for the entire industry. So look forward to talking more about it in the future. But you're the one in the fire here this morning, so to speak. So let's get moving here. I got a few questions, and I'm sure you'll say a few things that intrigue me on the side. What's changed about promoting races in the past 5 years?
It's changed a lot in the last 5 years. I've talked about the cycle of innovation and changing in the sport, and it's accelerating at an amazing pace right now. You know, what we used to do 10 years ago changed 5 years ago, and what we did 5 years ago changed 3. And now if you're not changing everything every 12 to 18 months, you're behind the 8 ball again. So really, you know, the path that we're on now started over a decade ago when we started creating the direct relationship with the customers and trying to consolidate a database related to all the people that are the fans and creating that direct connection through the ticketing systems and through an email so that you can have a real dialogue with your customers as opposed to getting caught up in a lot of the noise that we may have all heard here this past week with Cyber Monday. This is just a lot of noise going on. So the more valid and meaningful communication you can have with your customers, the more successful you're going to be. So this journey started a long time ago for us as we started creating the ticketing system and the events teams at World Racing Group and working to create a consolidated message to the fans.
Oh, in a little bit, Doobie-Doo. I'll take you outside in a little bit. Okay?
I'm sorry. So we got a little bit of side noise there, but so it really started back then, and now it's the evolution of over the last few years with the awareness through Dirt Vision. It really was still in its infancy when you think about where we were in 2017 and 18, really only having 2 channels, and then what COVID allowed us to do, despite all of this disruption in the world, creates opportunities, and it really accelerated the adoption of the streaming services and the internet connectivity. So the promotion now has to be radically different than it was even 3 to 5 years ago. It has to be very targeted. Again, less is more in a lot of situations where if you're communicating meaningfully with your customer, they're going to pay attention to what you send them. So we want to be on the top of mind with all the social media and with the awareness created through Dirt Vision, including the free pieces of it, the promotion, the YouTube, but also with very concise delivery of messaging for the events. So the promotions become very, very touch point. And then how do you create an event that does the fans want to bring their friends to and continue to grow the fan base organically that way too. So it's a lot of it's a lot of different things. You look at it now, and you're looking at the Be an Outlaw program and the reward program, and encouraging people to come back, sign in when you get there, scan in, and be a part of something a little bit bigger than just being a fan at a facility that you're enjoying some racing, but being part of a community. And that promotion part of what we're doing is working quite well too.
You touched on a bunch of different things there that I have questions targeted to. You mentioned Dirt Vision. How has streaming video changed short track racing and the promotion of it and just the organization in general?
For all those years, we desired live TV, and we always tried to fit our racing into the requirements and constraints of live TV. And it was very challenging and really didn't represent the sport very well. So what streaming has allowed us to do is adapt live TV to our sport. And if you could do that in a successful way, you can put a pretty compelling piece of entertainment and make it available to a lot more consumers than we're ever available we were able to make it available to. So streaming has a lot of opportunity to create awareness, but it also has an opportunity to spread, the good and the bad if you're not careful with how we do this. So we've been very careful to with Dirt Vision to expand at a pace that was manageable by us, that we could manage the production and manage the pieces related to how the world sees the sport. And we see it as a tremendous opportunity to create awareness outside of what we're doing. And over the last few years, it's been the technology has come to us, has allowed us to adapt the way we communicate through video, not only through the consumers that are not at the track, but consumers that are at the track via the video and some of the technology that we're bringing to our racetracks too, so that the fans at the track experience all of the things that are happening other than what they can see on the racetrack. So the work area pieces, a story from the pits, talking to the drivers, the different pieces. So it's an integrated package you're trying to create, but Dirt Vision has allowed us to expand that. But primarily the expansion of the awareness is what we're seeing right now, and the growth of the sport is the awareness campaign. And it's our job to make sure we put something that's on that screen that draws them to an event. The key, again, for our entire business model is to bring people to the racetrack. And Dirt Vision is just another one of the tools that's available to us. And then when we leave on a Friday night and drive 200 miles overnight to a Saturday night, the guys that, if they enjoy the show Friday night, maybe they'll get a chance to watch it if they can't drive down the road with us. So that's something that's never been available. 5 years ago, really wasn't available for every night of racing. And now we're doing it 450 nights a year on Dirt Vision for all of our properties. It's pretty tremendous way to stay engaged with the race fan.
Talk a little bit about how streaming video has changed the competition, not on the racetrack, but in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's the streaming. We bought Dirt Vision in 2003 as part of our when we bought Dirt Motorsports from Glenn Donnelly. So Dirt Vision has been around for a long, long time. We've been nurturing it to the point where, in 2011 we had, 16 shows or 17 shows. We're like, people don't remember all those pieces. In the last few years, that technology has become available to everybody, and everybody can. There's a lot of streaming services, and the competition related to not only the streaming service and the consumer and who's doing what. Are you buying an annual pass or a monthly pass? Are you buying a pay-per-view? The whole marketplace has changed and changed again. The last few years, you used to do pay-per-view and then you do a subscription for a late model or a sprint car. No, you got to be available as much as you can. But it also creates a dynamic that there's a lot of series that have a lot of awareness right now. And it's creating there's a lot of racing created to feed that desire to stream. And the question is that great? That's good for the streaming, but is it good for the whole marketplace? And how do you, the fans in your particular region are still only going to get paid every other Friday or however they're getting paid. So the balancing act of bringing in a lot more racing has got to be done real carefully. If you look at our calendar over the last decade, our calendar has not been moving around a whole lot. We actually have declined some of the peripheral races to try to focus on the destination type of an event. But there's a lot of opportunity to create racing when sometimes racing doesn't make a lot of sense. And you got to be cautious on how we do that, because it does have an effect long-term on how people perceive the whole balance of racing. And that's something that we take very seriously in how we try to do that. I could race another 100, we could put another 20 nights of racing on our program in any one of them. And we've chosen actually to not do that in a way that makes the best sense for the whole balance of our racing ecosystem.
Yeah, so it sounds like one of the questions I had was, do you think there's too much racing now? Or we're on the verge of there possibly being too much?
Well, we were blessed in COVID. We were one of the first sort of outdoor big sporting events that could come back because of the nature of what we were doing, and there were big participation pieces and the grandstands. There's a lot of racing right now, and the supply chain issues are serious, but they're not. We're doing a lot of racing. There's lots of pieces, and for me, I never really would have thought there'd be from a globe, because with the dirt car pieces and all the weekly programs, there has to be a balancing here, and growth its entirety is spectacular. It's good, the awareness, but it has to grow on all facets. You have to grow the fan base, you have to grow the sponsors, you have to grow the commitments, you have to make sure the teams The team ecosystems are good. You can't take and focus on one piece of it. That piece may prosper for a little while, but if it gets out of balance, some correction has to happen. And it happens in all markets, whether it be housing or the stock market or whatever. It'll find its spot. I just want to make sure that over the course of the last 20 years, it's ebbed and flowed through 2008 and 2012 and 13 different scenarios, and 20 could have been catastrophic. And for many people it was, but for racing, it actually brought us a new set of fans. And the good thing for all of us is we've been able to retain them. The question is now, based on the fans we brought in 2020, and the economic confusion that's happening right now, what can be sustainable going forward, 23 and beyond, and making sure that works for as many people as possible.
So growth.
So the question I didn't answer, is there too much racing right now? As a guy who likes racing, it's hard to say ever there's too much racing. It's just, we want to make sure we're having good races at the right time with right places, right venues, and don't confuse some race fans as to who's going to be there and what's going to happen. Because as soon as they have a bad taste in their mouth, you have a chance to bring a new fan in, and you send them away right away. It's not a good thing.
Right, correct. With the growth of the sport, though, sometimes there are challenges that come along with that. And, there's a lot of talk, scuttlebutt, rumor, whatever you have it, gossip, message room garbage. But, that right now there's a lot of teams and drivers out there politicking for a bigger piece of the pie and wanting membership rules and all kinds of other crazy stuff. What is your stance on all of that?
Well, all that's hard to define, but yeah, I've said it before, I don't fault anybody for wanting more. And particularly talking about at the higher levels of what we're doing with the sprint cars and the late models, our entire job is to create more. And I've said it for 2 decades, to make as many livings as possible around racing for everybody. And the teams have desired more forever. They've desired a lot of things along the way. They want to travel less. They want weekends, big destinations. They want to do different things. They're tired of California in the spring. I'm hearing, these are just different snippets from all the conversations I've had. But wanting more is natural for all of us. So the key is how to manage that in, and how do you do it without disrupting it beyond what should be done. So for us, a lot of it comes in. You brought up in a roundabout way the exclusivity that the World of Outlaws is, as it's something that's TED was established in 1978, and it's been that way from the beginning, and it gives some allure to what we're doing. Does the current model still justify that kind of it? And candidly, we've been thinking about this for a couple of years because we could see it kind of coming, which is why we've been aggressive in increasing the amount of bonus money and the different pieces as it relates to compensating the teams for their exclusivity. And that's really what it is. These teams can go do whatever they want to go do, but I compensate them to be a part of the World of Outlaws, and we'll continue to do that. And we'll do it as best we possibly can. And that's been, but it has to be in a balance that makes sense. It has to be in a way that, it is sustainable, not only from a sanctioning body perspective, from a racetrack perspective, and the teams and the drivers and all the other people. The sponsors have to be considered, the fans have to be considered, and taking a holistic view is what's happened over the last 20 years and trying to get us and really getting us to where we are, which is in a really, really, really good spot. So deviating from that, it's hard to get to a point where you deviate too much from that. Is there room to deviate some? Probably a little bit, but you have to do it very carefully, because there's a lot of people that have a lot invested in a lot of big events, not only World Racing Group, but a lot of our tracks and promoters, and figuring out how to bring anything else in it does have an effect. There's a balancing act. There's only so many paychecks and so many fans and so many sponsors and so many other pieces. So we're making sure you get all of those pieces to balance it in. And we think about that, take that very seriously, actually.
You talked about loving racing and you'd always like to race more. Well, you do a little bit of that yourself. And how does that help you keep up with what's going on in the sport?
It's great. I've always loved the racing. I've been going to the dirt track since 1974. When my dad and my brother and I would do that on Friday nights. and I didn't really get into a car until late in life. So I don't really have much expectation for me to do anything other than to go out there and play. But it does ground me related to, I know expense related to the fuel prices that have gone up, and blowing the motor on a Friday and trying to get a motor recertified in order to go racing the next Friday, and different pieces of those. So it does bring me, a perspective, from my world, and trying to manage all of the pieces. The broader perspective I can have, the better chance I have of making a good decision. So as it relates to a sanctioning body, sponsors, a track owner, renting a lot of racetracks, a weekly sanctioning body, a regional sanctioning body, a national sanctioning bodies, and then getting in a race car, not only in a sprint car or a late model or a street stock, helps me broaden my perspective. And I hope that gets us all a better chance of me making better decisions. And I think it has over the years. And again, it gives me a chance to be at one with those guys. And for me, candidly, have a chance to have a little fun at the racetrack, because most of the time for me at a racetrack is work anymore. And now I can go back and have fun every now and then. And that's a good thing for my psyche too. So
For sure. We all spend a lot of time talking about the World of Outlaws late models and the World of Outlaws sprint cars and all those guys. But how many racers fall under the dirt car banner?
A tremendous amount of racers,
Racers like yourself,
thousands and thousands and thousands. So, when we sanction 15 different classes, a lot of different touring series. We have, we're in 37 different states, 225 outlaw style national events, 5,000 with our flag flying everywhere else. It's a lot larger organization and a lot larger footprint than most people will realize. And it's fun to see it, but again, it's that understanding of how it has to build up from the bottom up, from the weekly racers to the weekly tracks, to how important that ecosystem is alive and well in each region, and understanding that, so that we can actually have a chance of bringing in a big race and entertaining a bunch of race fans and making all that work. And then, we have a lot of reach and touch, and we have over 100 sponsor companies that see the value in that. We have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of race fans that see the value in that, and more and more impressions now today than we ever have. The people that are casually looking at the sport that are becoming aware of all that.
Yeah, and when they introduced you at the beginning of this, they gave you responsibility for single-handedly making the World of Outlaws what it is. But when you guys took over the World of Outlaws, you had a very small staff, and counting dirt car and everything else now, approximately how many people are working there?
So when we bought the World of Outlaws, Ted had 7 employees, and we have over 80 full-time employees right now on all aspects of the business, from dirt car to the Super Dirt Car Series to the Summer Nationals to World of Outlaws, Dirt Vision. So there's 80 full-time employees. At any particular point in the summertime, we could be another 100 more than that as it goes up. When we get to go racing up and down in June, July, it gets pretty crazy. So we have 80 full-time employees now to manage the organization, to do the promotion, to interact with race fans, and then to make sure that we have the best schedule, the safest procedures we can, and the infrastructure it takes to run a racing organization like this. So 80.
So here we
It's
are.
different than most people believe.
Yeah, for sure. So here we are. It's the quote unquote off season.
Sure.
So what is the biggest challenge to you and your team? Is it the 10-month racing season, or the 2 months in between?
It's really October and November the hardest, because we're trying to wrap up a season and promote our largest shows of the year with all the things we do with the Super Dirt Week and World Finals and World Short Track. And we're booking all the shows for next year. We've already announced our calendar for the late model program for next year. For the World of Outlaws sprint cars are already announced. So all those things are overlapped. On top of that, right when we get back from Charlotte, if we can beat most of our neighbors here in NASCAR land with all of our 47 trucks and trailers, if we get everything back into service before they get back from Phoenix or from Homestead or wherever they are racing. So it's October, November, pretty tough around here. And then, but having the schedules done allow us to focus now on getting a lot of the other pieces pulled in place. We've got a great list of all of our sponsors. We've got our sponsors renewed for next year. We got some great announcements coming next week for some new sponsors, some new manufacturers, and new big sponsors coming into the World of Outlaws world. So we're really happy about that. So tease everybody, that's coming up next week. Love to have announced them this week, just not quite done yet on all of the details, but some big things coming for next week. We race tonight at Volusia. We race tomorrow night at Volusia. So with sprint cars and late models tonight and late models tomorrow, and we're going to take a couple of weeks off. And on January the 17th, the World of Outlaws season starts again. And we're racing some sprint car stuff between the Sunshine Nationals and Dirt Car Nationals, and then we hit it running. So there's no stopping. There's no stopping. I don't know what we do with ourselves, really. I guess I would probably, based on the way my body is right now, I could probably use a couple more days off, but I got a great team. It takes all 80 of us. Over the last 19 years doing this, I've had great team members help me get to where I'm at. So the idea of me masterminding this is a bit far-fetched, because I got 80 people here that I rely on doing this. And with that many events, it's clear I can't possibly be at even a sliver of a fraction of them all. So it's my team that have been with me decades that I really am very most proud of where we are today.
Is there anything in the dirt track racing world that there might be the next trend of the future, something that's coming that all of us on this call today haven't seen yet?
No, trend for dirt racing, we want to be different than everybody else, and we throw ideas at it. We throw a lot of ideas at it along the way. Our fan engagement pieces have been the biggest investment that more racing groups made over the last, either through our team of people, through the presentation at the track, the pit reporting, and the fan engagement pieces, the video boards. We've got a brand new trailer sitting out front. I can see it from my window, getting ready to roll out. There'll be a ticketing windows. It'll have video boards and a PA system for some music and stuff. We'll start traveling and adapting to some of our World of Outlaw events. We're dabbling with the idea of bringing out some of our own connectivity, maybe making Wi-Fi available at some of our events to see if the fans will engage in that way, so that the fans can better engage with their community while they're at the racetrack, hoping to bring their community to the racetrack. So there's a lot of those things that we're just watching. There's a lot of great ideas in all of sports, not just motorsports, and try to engage with race fans. But the idea of what we've been able to do with the DirtVision and the video streaming and the availability of that technology in your hand all the time, free on video on demand. I mean, all of DirtVision is free on demand after the fact, not live, but free. Go out and take a look. You can watch racing all year. From that perspective, I foresee us burning fossil fuel for a long time at the dirt track. So I'm not really seeing anything coming that direction. I'm sure there'll be some pressure somewhere along the way, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty happy with the direction we're going right now. And the key is just to keep it in balance. Make sure the fans don't get too confused as to where to go race, see races and see their favorite drivers, and continue to grow the awareness. And then adapt at the pace that the world requires us to adapt to, which means the attention spans continue to decrease. Make sure the program's short, concise, that we're entertaining people, that they can connect to the people that are important to us. The one thing we didn't even talk about was the new video games and how to bring in the youngsters. And now we got a console game and the real simulation, and that's bringing in a whole new crowd and another revenue stream for even the drivers for that. So that's good for us, and creates we rolled out the midgets, and we've got the micros, and we're doing more stuff for the development program, keeping the stream of youngsters coming through. Life's pretty good right now. I'm not going to change a whole lot.
Is the racing, dirt track racing in general, better than it's ever been?
I would have to say,
Competition-wise?
yes, it is better than it's ever been. We still fight all the same things that we've been fighting for the last, the engines are too expensive, which they're expensive. The aero on cars, we got to continue to fight. You got to make things as safe as we can possibly make it, because the last thing we need is something catastrophic happening at one of our events. So, but all in all, that when you look at, if you look at the highest level of our racing, we have more, there's not a lot of guys winning 25 shows or 20 shows, or spread out the parity. You don't really know who's going to race. It's hard to put a format together that, you got the cars are as powerful as they've ever been. They're as attached to the racetrack as they've ever been, with shock packages and different pieces. So the best thing you can do is make sure that, and people are going to spend every dollar they have or want to against racing. So you just got to make sure that those dollars don't show up on the racetrack, that they can spend them, but the racing is still good. Hopefully the dollars spent are against their making their lives easier in the pit area, or making some reliability pieces, but that it doesn't show up in these radical changes in performance, and managing those out of the business, because that does hurt us in the long run. We don't need these cars any faster. We just need to put on a good entertaining product, and put on a show where the guy's got the best car, who's got the best driver, has a chance of winning every night. And if we do that, then we're going to serve the sport well going forward. And I think I answered the question. Sports in as good a spot as it's ever been, with awareness and participation. And I'd love to have, more and more people participate, but it's really up to us as track promoters and sanctioning bodies to make that available to them.
For sure. I think your voice made it through to the end.
Say again, Mike, I'm sorry.
I said, I think your voice made it through to the end.
I just about made it through. I'm going to go grab a nice cup of hot chocolate and see if I can get it fired back up. So, but thank you guys for having us out here.
Thank you, Brian. You do a brilliant job with that series, and thank you for fighting that cold and being with us today. And it was very important to have the World of Outlaws represented in this.
Registering on ePartrade is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to ePartrade.